1 in 5 Americans suffer from chronic pain. Many are now using CBD for relief.
Activists are hoping pot could be legalized nationwide by the end of 2019.
When we look at premium cannabis, the Illinois House approved legalizing recreational marijuana.
Welcome to The Budding Report, a weekly show centered around all things cannabis. Please join us in welcoming our host, Charles Horton, and his co-host, Melissa Nasits, as they share the latest in cannabis news, conduct interviews with top leaders in the cannabis space, and promote some of the latest in science and innovation. And now to our host, Charles Horton.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Budding Report. We're up to episode 16 now. Can you believe we've been doing it so long, Melissa?
Sometimes I feel like I've been doing it forever, but most of the time, it's still brand new. So I think we're getting a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more in our element, but which I think makes us better. So I'm excited to see where we get eventually.
I agree. I feel like every episode we just have so much better chemistry, except for that one you weren't here. We didn't have very good chemistry at all that day.
Well, it's hard to have chemistry when I'm not here. I mean, come on. That's the physics of the thing.
And Chris is still using that high-tech advertising there. Your wife's in charge, so you have a better connection. How are you doing today, Chris?
Doing great. The background continues to work fantastic. The connection works well, and I'm excited to talk about the news today with everybody listening to the Budding Report.
Love it. And Christian, Dr. Shaw, how are you doing today?
How you doing, Charles, Melissa, Chris? I'm doing fine. Unfortunately, this background will no longer be at the next show because I will be back in Indiana.
Well, that's good because you have that little space for something back there behind your head. I was going to send you a vase or something
we need to decorate for
to
you.
put in it. You can tell you're single, right, Christian?
Yeah, that seems to be pretty obvious based on how everything's set up.
Well, everybody, we have a great show today. Congressional lawmakers asked the Supreme Court to hear the marijuana lawsuit against the DEA, and we have none other than Super Bowl champion Marvin Washington. It's his case to talk about it. So very happy to have him back on the show, and we'll let Chris lead that in just a minute. But we also have Dr. Golda Joseph here from Jade Health as well. Good to have you, Doctor. So let's get right to it. Chris, I'll let you take over for the news of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful to have Marvin Washington on, a lead plaintiff in this lawsuit against DEA. It's actually styled Marvin Washington versus William Barr. So love to have somebody going against William Barr. Of course, when he began the litigation, as he told us earlier, it was against Jeff Sessions. So it has been going on for a little while, finally making its way to the Supreme Court. And I think one of the most compelling aspects of this lawsuit, which is really a lawsuit to get a court to declare marijuana nationally legal on a federal level due to the conflicts between federal illegality and states' legality, infringing on people's right to enjoy interstate commerce, enjoy interstate travel, enjoy the right to life. It's really compelling that 12 different organizations have filed amicus briefs in support of this petition for writ of certiorari, and that petition for writ, which is the way you start a Supreme Court case, was filed in just July. So in just 2 months, 12 different organizations, including 9 congressional representatives, have filed amicus briefs, which is pretty compelling and puts a lot of pressure on the Supreme Court that there is public opinion backing this movement to make marijuana nationally legal. Now, this is it's a long shot bid, of course, because the Supreme Court is not a legislative body. They're not there to enact laws. They're there to interpret it. But when the law becomes so in conflict with people's ability to enjoy their Fifth Amendment right to life, then something has to break that tension. And another thing I really like about the lawsuit is it talks about the irrational classification of the DEA. The DEA has been faced with many scientific studies showing that marijuana has a true medical and scientific basis for helping people. Yet they continue to deny this science. And if their classification is based on an irrational interpretation of the research, does that violate due process? So I think you have 2 excellent questions. A, whether the Fifth Amendment right to life means that the federal classification is wrong, and whether the DEA's just irrational refusal to declassify it from Schedule 1, whether that is a violation of due process. So it'll be compelling. Of course, I'm not going to hold my breath too much because a lot of these Supreme Court justices have said that their position is not to be a legislative body. And you can, of course, probably see them deferring to the law. But I think that these cases and these briefs present some compelling arguments.
So I have a quick question for you, Chris, and if you know and you've read them, but I'm curious on the amicus briefs, have they been, what's the for and against ratio on them?
All of the amicus briefs that have been filed are for so far. They're from organizations, all 12. So 11 are from organizations like National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws, NORML. Organizations like that. And then I think the compelling one that led to the news article we read was 9 U.S. representatives joining and creating their own amicus brief that really discusses the political realities, the fact that the political situation in this country is going to make it nearly impossible to have marijuana legalized in the next few years. Obviously, the counter argument to that would be like something we discussed, like the MORE Act a few weeks ago. There is legislation that is on the table to try to legalize it. However, we do have Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate, basically saying he'll never give that bill a floor vote. So I do think there's some merit to the congressional representative's argument that the political realities prevent actual marijuana legalization, at least as long as you have Mitch McConnell leading the Senate.
Well, I have something to say about that, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Let's get to Marvin here. How are you feeling? What's happening? What's new?
I feel good, man. We got this done. They filed in July, and we marshaled all the forces to get all the groups from athletes to military to NFL parents to veterans and the kids that have the epileptic strokes and seizures. So we got a pretty diverse group to sign on, and based upon the news reports that came out since 2008, we had the most amicis out of 90% of the people that filed and want to be heard by the court. We know it's a long shot, but with Robert's court, the ACA Act was affirmed in there. The Marriage Equality Act came out of there. The Dreamers got their rights affirmed coming out of there. So we're just going to go on the constitutionality of it being unconstitutional, and a conservative court ought to look at like states' rights too. So we feel good. Now it's just a matter of us getting heard.
Is the hearing scheduled right now or not scheduled?
Not scheduled. We'll know something next month in October if we're going to get heard for the spring session.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, we're going to head off to a quick break. When we come back, we have Dr. Golda Joseph of Jade Health. Be right back.
Coming to you after our hike that we finished. Buster exercises 3 miles. Today is a recovery day because he did 8-mile hike over the weekend, broken up into 2. But what I want to share with you is this company here called Simple Changes. I learned about them and I absolutely love the concept. It's wellness, community, and organization. So as you can see here, I love the wrapping, I love purple, and it comes with 3 products. So I've been trying them out. First, it's the hemp oil spray, then it's the hemp oil dropper, and the hemp oil balm. So I'll be trying all of these out. I've been exploring them, exploring the ingredients. I met with the team on Zoom. Really, really, really neat product. And I love the fact that they also want to incorporate healthy practices. So they come with a little journal and something about simple success guide. So, simple changes.
And we're back. So thank you so much for joining us again. We're very excited to welcome Dr. Golda Joseph. She is the head psychology officer of Jade Health. She has over 50 years in entrepreneurial and facilitation experience. She's part of a nutritionist. She is an integrative psychotherapist, organizational development consultant, as well as a transformational teacher. So she has worked with multi-sided cannabis, nutrition, psychedelic healthcare, and just a wide across platform when it comes to dealing with the marijuana plant. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Golda, and why are you involved in the cannabis world?
Yeah, well, thank you for the introduction. I think I began as a teenager in the cannabis world, understanding that botanical medicine is a great solution for most conditions. So I had chronic cystitis and ended up treating myself with cranberry juice and then moving into botanical medicine. And so I have a double master's in East-West psychology and integral counseling, a doctorate in nutrition. And my husband and I were kind of the initiators of the holistic health movement, beginning with wellness in the 70s and then opening the first holistic health clinic in the Bay Area. Thank you, Marvin. And so we have seen over 75,000 clients together. Also, we were independent medical evaluators for the state of California and the state of Hawaii, which was very interesting because we were able to take integrative medicine, complementary medicine, and integrate it into the mainstream through the workers' compensation and no-fault systems, establishing parameters of care for natural medicine in those states where naturopathy and chiropractic and physical therapy, et cetera, were paid for by workers' comp insurance. They needed someone to come in and help them identify what was working and what wasn't working. And so because of our integrative background in both nutrition and physical medicine, we worked alongside many MDs and educated the insurance community and then educated the legal structures in both California and Hawaii to be able to see how botanical medicines, at the time, we were very clear that basically we had a huge disconnect in the healthcare industry. So patients didn't have tracking, everything was siloed. The insurance, we were looking at cases that were 20 and 30 years old, and we could see the left hand didn't know what the right hand, the spending was outrageous for every back. So we were neuromuscular, skeletal, and pain specialists, as well as stress reduction. And each case, they had to reserve $1 million a year in case there was going to be a surgery needed. So we began to see that there needed to be a clear voice that would integrate the kind of medicine that we practice as natural integrative practitioners and functional medicine doctors with the ways that records were being kept. So we started with a health information technology company looking at nutrigenomics, and then a year ago expanded that into Genomics as well as psychegenomics. So now we're able to take the subjective findings, the objective findings, real world evidence, session tracking, et cetera, that doctors like Dr. Shaw and most practitioners do it, and begin to capture that data so we can see efficacy on different products in different states and countries.
Well, you have some serious experience with the industry. I have two questions for you. In the time that you've been working, does it feel like it's a steady movement to become legal, or does it seem like it's really jumped forward? And then what are you currently experiencing in the industry?
Well, I would say that we've had, so I'm out of the 60s, and when our generation, the boomer generation, was really awakening to alternative substances other than chemical medicine and beginning to look at food as medicine, et cetera, and nutraceuticals. So that industry has really taken off and is doing, I think, a really beautiful job. And then we watched a huge contraction in the 70s. So I was part of California Institute of Integral Studies, which today is the leading, I would say, psychotherapeutic, psychedelic assisted program in the world. It was very, I was working with Ron Doss and Steve Levine and many leaders in the holistic health industry which was also the wellness industry at the time, to begin to integrate into mainstream medicine. But there was a huge contraction. And we know that cannabis and other drugs were used in the 1920s and 1930s as really a homeopathic and naturopathic vehicles for numerous conditions. And so we at Jade have created now a platform where we have an entire library of all the existing PubMed articles, and then we're matching that to the real world evidence that we could collect from the clinics that we are supporting. And we're also connecting the product so that it fits with the regulations of each country. And that's what we're currently doing. So we're working in Panama and Colombia and Mexico, Latin America, as well as different states in the US, Florida, New York, California, others, to begin to really validate the use of these amazing botanical remedies, especially for conditions where we know there's efficacy already, but we still need real world evidence and clinical trials to be able to really validate the different brands. So, as a food supplement, there are numerous benefits, which we all know through the actual experience of using the product. So we're very excited about being able to create this platform now that links the providers and the patients to the COA of the product, and then integrates that with the regulatory and legal aspects that really give us a clean chain of health integration technology to enable cannabis to have its rightful place and other botanical medicines within the whole healthcare system.
So moving forward, to establish this greater legitimacy of the efficacy of a lot of the nutraceuticals, what types of obstacles are you still facing at this point?
Well, I think that as a wellness remedy, we're not. I'm currently in Panama, so you can see in the background we got papaya trees, and so we're working diligently with the legislation in this country and Colombia and Mexico, and there's a lot of regulatory issues they don't understand, even though we have a whole team of physicians that are with us. And pharmacists, because a lot of what we're needing to do is help people to remove their dependency on drugs like opioids and integrate cannabinoids. But the legislature needs to be educated. The providers need to be educated. The patients really need to understand, the quality of the product that they're taking, where it comes from. So we are integrating with the track and trace systems. So I think that we really need to begin to create cannabis and have the evidence and the data to enable it to take its rightful place as a botanical medicine that is has numerous benefits in various ways to replace more toxic chemicals that are not working.
Oh, great. If you ever need another physician advocate, I'm very familiar with Panama. I love it down there, as well as Colombia. So just let me know.
That would be wonderful. We would love to have you be part of our team. Yeah. And on the other hat I wear as a psychotherapist is that I am facilitating retreats and have, over the last 50 years done many both meditation retreats and detoxification programs. And I think Panama is a perfect place for us to kind of collaborate with the U.S. because it's really accessible. And we could do many things here together. So that would be wonderful. I mean, all of you, we would really love to invite you to be part of the Jade family, both in the U.S. and abroad, because I think it will take the one takeaway that I have from the last 50 years, and I speak this over and over again to my colleagues, is the key is collaboration, is the forming a mutual collaboration where we are all working together to coordinate our efforts. And that is the way we're really going to anchor this medicine, as we did meditation, and other pieces of the puzzle that are really important, especially in our times, to educate people on self-care and being able to grow plants and juice them and eat them and work with our physicians to really understand what the needs of are. So everyone is biochemically individual. And I think that's really the key of what we're doing at Jade, is to personalize this, not only to track and trace the product, but also to really find genetically, both through the epigenetics that we're going to be studying, as well as the nutrigenomics, the canogenomics, and the psychegenomics, because one size does not fit all. And once you start to get those remedies, the way I use a hormone replacement therapy in my practice, we are able to formulate very specifically for women to maintain a balance. And we know the endocannabinoid system is our balance system. It is our homeostatic system. So I'm very excited for the work that you're all doing, and I really encourage for all of us to work together.
So Dr. Golda, seed to shelf to self, is this your solution, and what does it mean?
Well, I think that's the missing link. So I've been in this industry, as you know, a long time, and the component that we saw that was missing is that patients were confused. They didn't know what was going to be the best for them specifically, and then how to integrate it with the current medication they're taking. And then the products that are on the shelf, we don't really know the quality of them in the illicit market. So being able to really measure and monitor effectively what's living inside those products. And then the link to the producers to be able to get that feedback loop and enable the governments, for sure, to be able to test efficacy and safety. We know that these botanical medicines don't kill anyone. There's never been any deaths. There's really no danger with them. However, we really want to have physicians assist those patients that are on medication to be able to really transition them through detoxification programs and very gently integrate these new botanical medicines into their existing protocols. And I think that's something that Dr. Christian Shaw can speak to. I'm sure we're on the same page with that. The physicians that are on our team are very interested in looking at opioids and other chemical medicines that you have huge addiction problems to, that are killing many people, and really having safe solutions like cannabinoids and other botanical medicines to really help.
Well, Dr. Golda, I sure appreciate you being on the show, and I appreciate all the work you've done for so many decades in using the plant to help people. Well, we're going off to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Marvin, Washington.
Hello, hello, coming to you from the outdoors where I do my heat training, and I did my repeats on the hills. It's actually pretty empty, but it's kind of close to 90 degrees. So that's when I squeeze in whatever I can. But I'm actually here to share what Simply Start, Simply Satisfy is. So this organic hemp oil, this is the serum Simply Start, and you can take it twice a day or once. I already took both of them in this morning, so now it's lunchtime. Real quick and easy, yummy, delicious, 30 calories. The other one is Simply Satisfy. So it's a spray, and also 3 sprays. You could do it once a day or twice a day. Again, I did it this morning. I'm doing it now at lunch. It helps you take care of your health and wellness. So learn more about them. Remember, 3 simple changes on how you can incorporate into your life. You can learn more at the link below. So stay safe and keep moving, keep training, and take care of your spirit, mind, and body.
Well, welcome back. That was great to hear from Dr. Joseph. How exciting to have such a trailblazer in the cannabis industry to join us today. I'm very excited about our next guest as well. He is back to visit us once again. Marvin Washington is a Super Bowl champ, but a lot more than that, he is an advocate for cannabis. He has worked with he played for the New York Jets, the Broncos, and the 49ers, but he's been a voice of all NFL players in concussion lawsuits. He's addressing alleviating prescription opioid use and addiction through cannabis. There's so many elements of the wonderful things that you're doing. And this new lawsuit that, well, I guess it's not brand new, but this lawsuit that you're working with, what was the main factor that really made you want to sign on for this?
Well, I got introduced to the attorneys, and they were kind of telling me about the unconstitutionality of the prohibition of cannabis. And so with my career, job, and position, I travel a lot. And so they put together the brief, and I read it when I was going from New York to Los Angeles. It was about 100 pages, but it took you through the history of cannabis and how we were medicating for hundreds of years, through the states, that it was the #1 medicine that was dispensed in the United States, so it was made illegal. And the part that got me was once Richard Nixon got it and put it on Controlled Substance Act and made it Schedule I, was the reason why he did it. The reason why he did it is because 1970 and 1971, he wanted to go after 2 groups. He wanted to go after African Americans, #1, and he wanted to go after counterculture, the counterculture hippies of the 60s and early 70s that were protesting the Vietnam War. And so he put together this commission called the Schaefer Commission, a bipartisan committee, and they came back and told him the same things that we now know about this plant, that it's non-addictive, it's not toxic, it's not a gateway drug, this, that, and the other. And he went against all that, went out and got his own doctor that came up with these lies and false narratives about the plant, presented to both bodies of Congress. So it was presented to both bodies of Congress and signed to a bill in less than a month. And that in earnest started the war on drugs. And so the way it gets me is like the hippies can go from tie-dye to suit and tie, but African Americans, we can't change our color. And so we're still getting, even though it's legal in a lot of states and municipalities and stuff, we're still suffering that, people of color. And it started there. It started in earnest, the war on drugs and the prison industrial system, incarceration, arrest, breaking up of families, and whatever, for people of the Black and brown people. That's why I joined on. Plus, there are more compelling stories than me that are suing them. There are the kids that have these epileptic strokes and seizures. They can't travel on federal land. And that means they can't even go to the airport, because once you step in the airport, that's on federal land. They can't go to Disneyland. They can't go to Washington, D.C. and lobby, because it's all on federal land. And so we can't wait for the DEA to rule on this, because they take anywhere from 7 to 13 years to come back with a ruling. And these kids need medicine now. The soldiers that are coming out the theater of war that have, the closed head injuries, just like the football players and athletes have CTE, they need their medicine now. And instead of getting these thousands of opiate pills and benzodiazepines from the DEA, let them medicate with something. Give them the choice of medicating with something that's all natural, non-toxic, non-addictive. And the government holds a patent that says a CBD is an antioxidant and neuroprotectant for the brain in relationship to concussion. And they license this patent all over the world. They grow marijuana in their new drug program in Mississippi, but it's illegal. It's addictive. It has no medical benefits. This is crazy. So Congress can make a law, but it has to make sense. This one doesn't make sense. And that's why I'm here. That's why my plaintiffs are here. And that's why we're doing this fight.
Well, Marvin, that's fantastic, and I'm so glad you're leading that effort. Talk to us a little bit about the. I always have said amicus briefs. It's how is it actually pronounced? Amicus. Anyway, how many groups and individuals have? Sorry, you cut off there, Marvin.
No, how many groups? I've reached out to the attorneys. Got to me, and they kind of educated me because I didn't know what a amici was, which is the amicus brief. And they kind of told me who they wanted. They wanted soldiers and people that are different groups that are affected by it. So I went to the group that I started, Athletes for Care. I reached out to Isaiah Thomas because I know he's in the cannabis space. Him and his son Joshua, they're in the cannabis space. We've reached out to Rachel Rapino. We reached out to Billie Jean King. We reached out to NFL wives and sisters that are basically taking care of some of these guys because they're suffering so much from CTE. And we just got a wide collective of groups to show them that it's just not us 5 plaintiffs that are coming here. This is a collective that wants this plant to be legalized on the federal level so people can get their medicine, because no matter what, whether you use it as adult use or you use it medically, I don't know anybody that's smoking just to get high. Everybody I know that smoke, they want to feel better. So cannabis is medicine. And right now you have over 3 million Americans that are licensed to use it for medicine. So why not make it legal, tax it, regulate it like you do alcohol, like you do tobacco? But this is medicine. We only know about 4 or 5 of the cannabinoids. What about the other ones? Let's get the research and development behind this plant. That's what I want. This is what I want. Something, this can bring back the industrial age in America. If we start growing cannabis and hemp, has no environmental footprint, this thing is unbelievable. They're going to look at us. Future generations are going to look at us and say we're freaking idiots for making this thing illegal and prohibited. We are. Because right now, I know the doc's been in there for decades, but the cannabis race or whatever just started in 2012. That's like, Henry Ford just building the Model T. It's 8 years, or the Wright brothers taking off at Kitty Hawk. I'm just a placeholder. The future generations are going to take this thing and they're going to run and get this thing to the jet age and the space age, and it's going to be unbelievable. And it was here all the time, and we made it illegal. That's why I said they're going to laugh at us, for putting this thing aside, stopping the momentum of it. But I feel like right now in the country, everything that's happening with the protests and everybody's growing gardens and getting into themselves and what have you, I think this is the thrust that we need to go into the 21st century. This is the last year of the 20th century. And as we go into the 21st century, I believe cannabis can lead the way. Whether it's THC, whether it's CBD, or whether it's hemp, it's going to lead the way, because this is what we did for thousands of years. And I believe this is where we're going to medicate ourselves, build our houses, like hemp can disturb any market that it can go into. This thing is going to be unbelievable. I'm going to be pushing up daisies by the time this happens, but I hope they remember the old football player that tried to push this through, man, because I'm trying to do it.
I hope it's going to happen much faster than that.
Yes, it will. It will.
No,
I would totally agree with that, and I don't normally make overstatements, and I certainly would be comfortable saying that I think cannabinoid therapeutics in general, utilizing cannabinoids as medicine, is really going to overtake where we're at right now. It's going to be kind of a challenge to the conventional allopathic medical system, that there's going to be so many innovations that shoot out from it. It'll almost represent its own alternative therapy. And then, of course, it will create a lot of gravitation of the other alternative and integrative approaches. It really, to me, it's a challenge.
We've lost your sound, Christian, but I'll go ahead and ask your question. What are the chances of being heard and winning in this case, Marvin?
Well, I like our chances. If we get before the court and get to argue our case, I believe we have a pretty good case. And as I said, it's a conservative court, but they don't want to make laws, but they're going to listen to our side, because we're talking about states' rights. And that's the biggest thing that conservatives like to go on is states' rights. And so let the states decide, and over 2/3 of the states have decided. So why not make it legal for all 50 states? You know, because we were in appellate court and they were saying the DEA can take it down to Schedule 2 and deschedule it. Well, that would put me out of business, because then that would put everybody out of business that's in there, because then you have to go through the FDA process. And so if you want to put the black market out of business, you got to legalize this thing, not deschedule it. You know, and these kids need medicines now. And this thing, CBD, you know, I think should be in every medicine cabinet in the country. THC and CBD is going to be the Trojan horse that gets us into middle America. And then we're going to open up the belly to all the other cannabinoids like THC and THCA and all this. We don't even know what this plant can do. We're at the precipice of it. This thing is going to be unbelievable, and it's going to lead the way of how we medicate ourselves from here on out. Cannabinoids is going to be a way, because we have an endocannabinoid system in our body. It's going to lead the way, man. I'm excited about it. And when I say about that, like, you know, I'm pushing up Daisy, I say that kind of tongue in cheek. But with cannabis, I just know that it happens slowly, then all at once, you know. And I believe that's how it's going to happen. But get back to your original question. If we get heard before the court, I think we have a pretty good chance of winning.
If you are successful, Marvin, what happens next in terms of the case, but also for you?
What happened next is if we win, I go out there and have my press conference on the steps, and then I'm heading over to Capitol Hill to make sure that we have a fair and equitable cannabis laws that are fair to everybody, that rehabs the communities that were affected most by prohibition and the individuals. I think they should open up the doors of the prisons and the jail, that if you're in there for a nonviolent cannabis conviction, you should get out. I think it shouldn't prevent you from working in this industry. And yeah, we need that. The winning lawsuit will be the first step. The second step is coming up with a equitable and fair laws for everybody, that gives everybody a fair chance to be in this community, to be in this industry, with doctors and nurses, give them education and what have you. There's so many things that can happen if we do win it. And like I said, I think this is going to lead the way as far as medicine of the 21st century.
I can't even tell you. I know you couldn't see me during all of this, but I'm nodding along the entire time. And you had me sold 100%. If I were sitting on the Supreme Court, you'd have a done deal with me. So thank you again for all of
Put your name in the pot.
I know I should, right? Unfortunately, I'm a little too liberal, I think. But anyway, I just want to thank you for the work that you do. I mean, from my heart and from friends that I have that are suffering and using cannabis, for the ability to be able to use that. And, you know, here in Texas, we're lagging behind. So thank you for your work. I just wanted to say I appreciate you.
Texas is coming.
I hope so.
I'll be sitting there right there with you, because you know I'm from Dallas, so I'm coming back as soon as they legalize.
Well, we got a chair for you when you get here.
Good deal.
I'm thinking Marvin for president. I mean, what about you guys? Marvin for president.
I'll vote.
Well, Marvin, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Joseph, thank you again for joining us. Been a fantastic show, interesting. So many different cases coming along, so many possibilities, and you know, let's get full legalization.
Yes.
So I still am stuck, you know, on the fact that somebody can be in California or Colorado and be smoking just fine, and even though Texas cases have dropped, they have only dropped from 65,000 cases to 50,000 cases, and there's somebody doing, you know, 50 years in rural Texas for bringing gummies home from Colorado. That's got to change. That's ridiculous. But join us next week when our guests include Matthew Abel of Riverton Law and Mike Hennessy of Wana Brands. Contact us on our website, sign up for our emails. If you want to get contact information for any of our guests, any of our hosts, all of that is on our website at thebuddingreport.com. See you next week. Thanks for joining us.